Welcome to season 2 of Rabbit Holes with Aaron, where we haven't made any drastic changes, but we believe we get better with time. So enjoy the wide constellation of guests that I have on this show. Enjoy our conversations. Hopefully, you get some nuggets and you can learn and grow and become a better person. Thanks for listening. Hello, this is Rabbit Holes with Aaron, and I'm Aaron. And today I have with me a good friend, Nizam Ishmael. He has created a pickleball paddle that makes sounds like a lightsaber, which is just amazing. He's been working on that for a while and he's continuing to refine it. He's playing tons of pickleball, and he's my only childhood friend. So, yeah, there you go, Nizam. Thanks. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Aaron. And man, I'm your only childhood friend. I think you're the only childhood friend that I keep up with as well. I mean, I have some others on Facebook, but I think I talk to you more than any of the others. So
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Like, we were friends from I think when I was 16 to when I was maybe 15 to 17. I guess those are formative years, and we learned a lot and remembered a lot because I can remember almost all of our adventures still.
yeah,
You
me too.
know, I was telling Jill about it the other day. Like, I had never worked out before, and all of a sudden you had a bench. You're like, "We're going to do bench press," and I'm like, "What?" And it's like, "Yeah, it's your turn." And I'm like, well, "I don't want to do that," but there we were. We were working out with weights, or you shooting your bow. That's something I never really did get to. That was, but we all shot our BB guns together at various
Yeah.
targets, living and dead.
Yeah, my mom had the rule is if you're gonna kill it, you gotta bring it home and eat it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. She could probably cook it too. I mean,
Oh yeah. I had to clean it and all that stuff, and she would cook it. I've
wow.
eaten everything. But I mean, that's kind of part of East Texas, so
Oh, is that East
nothing. Not
Texas?
yeah,
Not
it's
the
East
wasted?
Texas.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I want to
all the. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say I
No, I said
want
all
to
the
start
friends I
off
had
with
that
the. Go ahead. You're gonna keep talking. Keep talking.
no, I was saying all the friends I had that grew up in Lufkin, that was kind of the thing, you
Oh,
killed
okay.
it, you ate it. Yeah.
I wasn't in that circle, but then again, I don't know. I don't know why. But anyway, I had a question for you, and it seemed like you had a lot of answers to this question. Sorry. Um, what do you want to do in 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was saying I really, will probably follow my daughter around since she's 11, she'll be
Yeah.
21 at that time. So whatever, college or town she's in will most likely be fairly close. Uh, I mean, in terms of like business and stuff, we've been chatting. It'd be fun to like if keep the pickleball business going and be able to travel and just do like sales at different clubs and play a lot of pickleball.
Yeah.
So that'd be fun. I also ideally, I started the business to expand into other products besides pickleball paddles, and so that's
Okay.
still on the horizon to do. Once I get the pickleball paddle where it needs to be. Uh, and that, of course, talk more about that. It's been a huge, interesting adventure.
Yeah.
Something new for me. So we started it in, I guess it was 23, like October of 23 is when I started down the journey. I had built the first prototype around Thanksgiving of 23. And let's see. So we spent all of 24 figuring out what kind of paddle to use. So I didn't find the paddle I wanted to use until later. Uh,
Yeah.
and so then it was building the paddle, making sure that it uh, would work for what I wanted to do, and then that didn't work. So the iteration went from, is it going to be more pickleball paddle or more lightsaber? And
Yeah.
so it started out more lightsaber. It had a big lightsaber handle on it. And then every time I showed to people, it was like, "Oh, this is a novelty. It's a cool novelty. You've made the coolest novelty item." And I was like, "I don't want to make a novelty item. I want to make a pickleball paddle that you play." And so then
Right.
we found, yeah. So then I found another paddle that worked to where it was more pickleball paddle, less lightsaber, and that's the one that I'm, you know, currently selling. And we made it all the way till last summer, and we officially launched. I was like, okay, well, this is good enough for me to launch and get feedback from people. And so we launched. I think it was end of June, end of no, end of July last year. About July 20th is when we launched. We launched the
Yeah.
product, and so we were, following the lean startup methodology, which means you just launch the product. Basically, as soon as you have something that you can put in front of people, you launch it and you get feedback from them. And that's scary.
Yeah.
But we did it. We did it because you never know what kind of feedback you're gonna get, and there's always we love it, and which is great feedback, but I really want you have to get the other feedback of, like, what
Yeah.
don't you like about it? And so
Yeah,
not
that we
everybody's
hate
going
it.
to tell you that. Yeah. And why do you hate it? I just wanna know why you hate it. And so we got a lot of feedback in that area, and we went on Khaleesi and I went on a reality
Right.
show, TV reality show. So I can't tell you the outcome of it because it hasn't been released yet, but it was a great experience. It was a week-long experience in the talk show and the reality TV show. It was all for entrepreneurs, so there was 60 other companies that were there, and it went from basically 8:30 in the mornings when we had breakfast till 9 p.m. every day for 6 days. And there were always 9 cameras around taking video of you. You would, we had every day there was a competition, and if you won your competition for that day, then you got up to be on the stage for the final competition for the evening. And
Okay.
we got points, and the person with the most points at the end of the week, they were the ones that won. And so it was a big
Okay.
deal to make it up onto to win your pod is what they called it. They broke up the 60 companies into 8 pods. And so you were there with about 7 or 8 other companies competing against them, and you'd have to basically take the lean startup methodology and apply it to your company where it was at. Like, one of them that we did was the beachhead. Like, how do you do the beachhead strategy? The beachhead strategy, comes from Normandy, where they were storming the beaches in Normandy.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't storm the entire island, so you pick one spot and you go after that one spot. So in
Right.
terms of business, you break down all the possible customers that you could have and, like, all right, which ones really like my stuff? And now let me break it down more and more and more until I have a segment that ideally I have no competition in that segment and all these people just love what I'm selling.
Yeah.
And so that was fun, to kind of figure out what I kinda knew, kids and parents with kids, they're the ones that they can never say no. If I have some kids that are playing pickleball, I'm like, "Hey, do you wanna try this out?" Their parents always were like, "Alright, we'll stick around, we'll play with the kids," and I had usually had extra always had extra paddles, and so
Yeah.
they'll play. So parents and kids were definitely my market, uh but I really wanna push it at the recreational players. I mean, you see me playing all the time, and I'm playing open
Yeah.
play and playing league play, and I use the paddle, and it does really well. And so those are the folks, and those folks are telling me it's too heavy. And so now we're, again, transitioning to making more pickleball paddle and even less lightsaber.
Yeah.
And so that's been a interesting adventure. So right after we launched, figured out, okay, I need to make it lighter. And so we pivoted. So the lean startup methodology, you figure out where you want to go. It's build, measure, learn. We learned that this is not the right piece. We need to build something lighter, more
Yeah.
pickleball power. And so I had my first huge, just like, man, I think I was crying probably around Christmas time. And I found I had created a whole new design. So designed everything from scratch, a whole new paddle, designed the paddle, the face of the paddle, all the dimensions of the
Yeah.
paddle was redesigned. And I found a couple manufacturers. I found one that's like, all right, I went with this one. They said they can build it. They're going to do a great job at it. Uh, and so I'm working with companies in China. And so with the process, I normally don't talk to them on the phone. I'm just chatting with them. And if we get to the point where, all right, I'm ready. If I need to talk to them, I talk to them on the phone. Anyway, these guys, they built the paddle. They went all the way through the whole process. Had a new mold made. Takes about 2 weeks to make a mold. Uh, and I mean, it's CNC'd out of like steel, the mold that they use.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they couldn't do it. The PAL didn't work. Like the dimensions were too complicated for them to make in that mold. They tried, but they're like, no, we can't do it. And so right at the end of December, my Christmas present from them was, yeah, we can't do it. Sorry,
Yeah.
uh, good luck with it, and I was like, okay, great. And so then I had to go through the process again. I was like, all right, I think it's possible. And so there's two types of paddles that they're in pickleball. One is where they take carbon fiber, put it on both sides in the mold, and they blow air into the handle. And it's called blow formed. And that's the one they tried, and they couldn't do that. And the other type is heat pressed. And so they just have the two pieces of carbon fiber that are flat, and they put all the foam or whatever polycarbonate in the middle, and they heat press it together. So now we're down that path. So again, it takes a month. So I started this beginning of January, and we're at middle February. So last week I picked my manufacturer, paid for the mold, paid for the samples. And so now when Chinese New Year's is over, because it's happening right now from the 16th to
Yeah.
the 23rd, then they'll actually start they'll attempt to make this new paddle for me with this new
Okay.
design. But it changes everything up. Like I don't have as much space in the handle anymore. So
Yeah.
instead of using a big battery, and again, that was the other interesting part of, okay, when I pick my new pieces, my design doesn't have anything to do with uh, the normal stuff. For example, when I choose my battery, like the battery I currently have runs for 6 to 8 hours, or sorry, 4 to 6 hours. And that's too long. Like, all right, I need to scale things down. And so what's the
Right.
minimum size battery? And the minimum size battery is 20 minutes, which that number almost doesn't correlate. Like the battery has to allow the lightsaber to run for 20 minutes because that's usually about how long a pickleball game is. So, I'm scaling everything down to the minimum that's required now to,
Yeah.
get everything like the speaker is half the size now. Uh, and yeah, so the batteries are smaller, so it takes a lot of weight off of it going into the handle.
Sure.
So I'm using a AAA sized battery. It's still lithium ion, but it's the size of a AAA battery. And then different LEDs to go around. I picked like the nicest, best ones I could find that have a white. So you hit the ball and it flashes and it's super bright. And, you crank it up to full brightness and it's too bright, when you're inside. Like, I mean, you can play outdoors with it. That's how,
Yeah.
type of components I picked. And like some of these aren't necessarily used in lightsabers because nobody needs it to be that bright because you're usually playing at
Right.
night outside. And so I was like, I'm going to pick this out, set of LEDs anyway and, rework the code so they all worked. And so now I'm going back to the basic LEDs that are from, a lightsaber I'm getting about 80% of the brightness out of it, out of these new LEDs, but it's, a third the weight.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
anyway,
So you
so
got to
it's
go
just fun.
back to the drawing board and make everything, choose all the components at lighter weights, pretty much.
Correct. Yeah. But it's good. I mean, it's cool. I have 2 years of experience doing this now. I never expected it'd be 2 years of experience and, still working on the product. But I think that's kind of the process is as soon as you get the right thing, it takes off. And you
Yeah.
don't know what the right thing is until you launch it into the market and see what people want and what they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that was the other bit, seems like the price point needs to be around $500. Like at $500, I was able to sell paddles at, no problem. So,
Okay.
so that's not only, picking the best components, but picking the components that all meet the criteria that I'm looking for to try to getting the cost
Yeah.
down, the weight down, the size down, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
that's good.
Well, where do we find your pickleball paddles if we wanted to go buy them online?
So Saber Mashups, sabermashups.com. So
Okay.
they're all out there. It's shop is up and running, and yeah,
Okay.
they're there. We ship just the United States, or yeah, just the US right now. So that's the
Okay.
other piece of, I've had it up for a while, and I've had people from other countries say, "Hey, can I get it here? Can I get it here?" And I'm like, not yet." And it's
Yeah.
because the battery that's in the handle, I can't ship it to, like, so many countries. And
Yeah.
so the new one, the battery's removable. So I can actually sell you the product without the battery, and you can buy it separately and add it in. Uh,
Okay.
this current version, you could take it out, but it's not meant for you to swap between a game. It's not easy to
Yeah.
do. Well, this next
Okay.
version, the design is easy. So,
Because I had a question. I've been thinking, I mean, I wanted to go down a rabbit hole, but I wanted to make sure I gave people a way to contact you if they're interested in this. But I've been thinking a little bit about refinement. And
okay.
and that's exactly what you've been talking about, like refining it to meet the need and not just well, I've been thinking about it in terms of like discipline, like refining something. And I've been thinking about, of course, with my coffee cups, like I'm trying to refine them so that all of them sit flat on the table and the handle feels good and it feels good to drink out of it and it doesn't leak water. And, there's some basic requirements, but then there's the refinement, which is just going a cut above in little small design ways.
Yeah.
Um, and, to me, for pottery, it looks like, okay, this coffee cup looks like it's about done. Let me go over it with the sponge a little bit more after it's dry. Or let me hit it with some people hit it with sandpaper after it's in bisque form. And other people do different refinements. I haven't picked all those up, but as I am investing more time into it, because I'm still working on making cups with my hands and stuff like that, it's like, what can I do you know, how can I make refinements along the way as I go right now? And how can I improve it, like where every cup is going to be a little bit better? What can I learn? Now that happens naturally a little bit. My technique improves, like with pinching with my fingers or whatever tool I'm using. But, I want to learn from other potters and refine it a little bit better. But that to me correlates back to this word. For most people, it's positive that I said a minute ago, discipline. And to me and I wanna ask you about what discipline means to you in a second, but, like, to me, discipline means, like, doing the small, almost painful, sometimes annoying they're so small, at least this is my perspective on them. It seems like you might have mastered that, but doing
I
the
don't know.
small, like, tedious steps, like, where you just have to sigh, and you're like, "Well, there's no way forward without doing this. I guess I gotta do it." What do you think about discipline like that?
No, there's been a bit of that just because I have some time crunches where I, made the basic design for the paddle, and I knew I had to get the basic design done before I could contact the manufacturer because they want to know, okay, what design do you want? And then I picked that one manufacturer, and then I have like 2 or 3 days, to refine the design to make sure that that was because that it's cost a lot of money to have a mold made and samples made,
Yeah,
and so I have to get that right the first time. Because if you don't and you have to change everything, you have to pay all of that again.
yeah,
So yeah, it's just being on the time crunch of like, "All right, it's gotta be done today, it's gotta be done here."
yeah.
So there's that piece of it. Yeah, I get it. Jessica helps a lot with that, put it on the calendar, and she'll remind me. Just like today, I was like, I got home from playing pickleball, and I turned on the Olympics, and I fell asleep. I was like, I'm taking a nap. I got a couple minutes. And then she's like, get up. It's time for your podcast. I was like, all right. So I got up, set up my, phone and computer and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's always good to have some help with the discipline side of it.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. And that help
yeah.
kinda makes a difference, kinda, spread the load out around so, you're held accountable by some other people as well around, and that always helps with the discipline. Okay, I gotta get it done, and, I gotta give them an update. We do updates, every night at dinner on, what we did in the day and where the, paddle is and the company, and so,
Okay.
it's nice to give a good review, of my tasks of the day. They're my
Yeah.
stakeholders, so, that's
Yeah,
how it
exactly. It's like an evening business meeting. It's like,
it
okay,
is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, those
yeah, but since I don't, I mean, they're my boss at this point, and you have to, otherwise the discipline can just go out the window. I can be like, I can do whatever I want. I'm my own boss, and nothing will happen. I'll just be
yeah,
playing pickleball all day. That's what will happen.
with nothing to
So,
show for it. I guess that's their main point. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and then I think about how discipline relates to success, whether it's in business or relationships or life. It seems like there's all these little things to do. Like I think about RV life and I think about, well, anybody lives in a home or house or apartment or wherever you live, a tent or an RV or wherever, like there's little things like sweeping up a mess or putting stuff away when you're done with it or throwing your laundry in the laundry hamper. May or may not struggle with some of these things. But those are things it's like, well, I got to do it. You take a deep breath, you're like, okay. We're gonna do this, and it's especially hard when I'm leaned back in a recliner with the TV on. It's just you might as well say it's gonna be $10,000 to get this done. I'll be like, "Yeah, that's right." That's how hard it is to get out of my chair sometimes. I mean, yeah, to do the little things, but I'm learning actually that these little things that I now call discipline, these little painful, annoying things, at least from my current perspective, are the things that make everything happen, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and to think about it in another way, those are the things that are best serving my future self, making my future self's life a little bit easier so he can focus on his passions. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, it like and I'm going back to pickleball again because I do so much pickleball. It
Yeah.
was before I started this, I was doing some learning about how to trade futures.
Mm,
And man, trading futures, you're trading the Dow, you're trading the Nasdaq, and how it moves up and down. And futures is like it was just training. I never got past training. Did it for a little over a year, and the amount of discipline that was required to try to make that happen. And if I followed my steps that I needed to, then when I was done, I would go play pickleball. And I was calm and I was like, "Oh, I did what I needed to do. It felt good and I could play." And then there were days that I was just excited and just like I would jump in a trade and stay in too long or whatever. And, my training account, I just deplete it just really quickly. I mean, and and then I go play pickleball and I'm all like, just anxious from, not following the steps I was supposed to follow. And then the rest of my day was just like, wow, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? I just was so hard to
yeah.
focus and calm down. So, you know, this was the extreme. I've never felt this before. Like this was the extreme of you followed your discipline, you followed what you were supposed to do and all the rules you were supposed to do, then it was so good. But if you didn't, bam, you were the rest of the day was, you know,
Mm,
may as well just sit and watch TV because trying to
yeah.
complete stuff in a focused way was tough.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that too. Well, and I want to actually stop for a second because I'm not sure what you're talking about. We're talking about trading futures. You said the Dow. You said I'm sure it's like Wall Street stuff. But, like, in simple terms, what does that mean so I can understand?
So like just like buying and selling a stock.
Okay,
And so same thing,
okay.
you can
I didn't
buy
know.
one share of yeah, you can buy one share of the Nasdaq or one share of the Dow, so I don't know what it's at right now. I haven't been keeping up, but if it's at, say 45,000, you can buy one share of it for $45,000.
Mm,
But, we weren't doing
ah,
that. You were buying, smaller pieces, you can
yeah.
buy chunks of it, 5, 10, 20, $100 worth of it. And yeah,
If it does better,
you
then you made money. If it does worse, then you
lose
so it's the
money.
stock market pretty much, yeah. Okay, I understood the
Yeah,
stock
but
market. I just never heard of it as trading futures.
no, it's different than trading just regular stocks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a different. area. There's so many, forms of trading financial stuff. This was one of them, and it's like day trading. Like you're holding it for at the most a couple minutes.
Oh,
5-10
yeah.
minutes is like super long time to hold, in that type of trading. So it's really fast, really quick. Your discipline has to be on point because if you miss it, then you lost all of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you wanna
Okay.
train to do that, and you wanna train with, education accounts and education money versus your own because, I mean, you could lose $100,000 literally within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's one of
Sounds
those, if you
volatile.
get it, yeah, if you get it, and then you can make a lot of money, but you have to get and I couldn't, my discipline wasn't quite set for that.
Yeah.
I thought I could get it, but no.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Um, well, we talked about other stuff. Well, was there any other rabbit holes you wanted to explore? Anything we've talked about so far?
Oh, man. No, I think let's go. Let's keep going.
Okay.
What you got next?
Uh, yeah, I was thinking about the nomadic lifestyle. We were talking before this episode, and it only occurred to me then that like you came to America, and I want you, if you could, share a little bit of your story of coming to America and all that, how you ended up in Lufkin, Texas, to be my next door neighbor.
No, that was it's we talk about it all the time, just kinda within the family of how interesting an experience it is and how challenging it is for just someone from another country to pick up and go somewhere else. And it was a little bit easier for us just because we had family that did it before us.
Okay,
But,
yeah,
you know, that only helped because they could give you some information, some layout on the land. I mean, this was back in late 70s and 80s. So you had a phone call at the best, to talk about, what was there. And, back then, everybody in Guyana, British Guyana, where I'm from, where I was born, they were leaving the country. And the
yeah,
reason why they were leaving the country is because the government just started printing money. And so inflation just started rising to where, in country stuff, you know, inflates in price, but when you try to buy something that's not from the country, so for example, a can of Coca-Cola back in the 80s in Guyana would cost you $200.
oh my gosh, okay,
Like that's how inflation goes. And like I said,
right,
if you're buying stuff in country, you're going to see a little bit of an increase, but as soon as you try to buy stuff from outside, then, the price is just exorbitant.
yeah,
And so
okay,
people saw, yes, it was just getting worse and worse. And so that's why my family started migrating out of the country. And we had a couple places to go. England was one of them. So I have a lot of family in England since it used to be a British colony. Going to another British colony was fairly easy. Had a lot of family went to Canada as well. So we have a big group of family that's in Canada. And my parents saw a better opportunity or thought there was a better opportunity in the US. So they came to New York. And
okay,
so we lived in New York for several years. My parents at some point decided, okay, we want to change the scenery, kind of check out the rest of the country, do something different. And they ended up moving to Houston. So we lived in Houston for a few years. My parents ended up divorcing, and my mom remarried, and we moved to Lufkin, Texas. And that was about when I was 10. So,
okay,
so I lived in Lufkin for a few years before I met you. I mean, we'd moved around a lot in Lufkin. Uh, I say a lot, probably 3 or 4 times because we rented a house here and there, and then
yeah.
I think the last house we rented was the one we were close to you. And then for my high school year, my parents finally bought a house, and we moved across town.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, thank you for catching me up on that. I knew you're from other country. I think we talked about British Guyana before, but I didn't know exactly the route you took. Well, and because you share that with me, now I can see why we're best friends. Because there, and that could bring us to a million different rabbit holes about, the strengths and the challenges of being like nomadic. And some of them that you've already talked about, but I've been thinking about lately is, you know, some of the challenges, which is the most interesting parts for me, is, you come into groups of people and they've been there their whole life.
Yeah.
They have social cues, they have secret words, they have their own language, they have their looks and their mannerisms, and we don't know none of that. We don't know none of that. We're complete, and especially me. I mean, well, not especially me. It's probably same for you and for anybody nomadic, but especially me because my parents kind of kept me isolated through going to church, and we were in church every time the doors were open. We couldn't be involved in any kind of social clubs or athletics, or we could have been involved in high school athletics, but they never would pay for any athletics for high school. So we weren't good at any athletics, so we couldn't really participate. We are just like the new guy, no matter where we went, what we did. And so that kind of kept us socially isolated. So here I am as a 50-year-old adult, and sometimes people say things and look at each other, and I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying. And they're speaking English, and I'm American.
So I get that. When I lived in New York, they were integrating the schools.
Mm,
And yeah, so that's an interesting one. Like, it sounds like a really cool thing. It's like, oh yeah, they're integrating the schools. But for me as a kid, I got there and I started kindergarten. So I went to
mm,
one school for kindergarten, which was, about 5 blocks down from us. But then for first grade, instead of going to that same school, they sent me to a different school. So
mm,
every year, I would go to a different school. Like, even though the one that was 5 blocks
huh,
from me had first, second, and third that I could have gone to, I would go to that school and jump in a bus and go get bused to a different school.
yeah,
So that same concept of,
wow,
having friends the entire time. The only time I've had friends for a significant amount of time was when I was in Lufkin.
yeah,
'Cause every other time, every year, I went to a different school. Like, every grade, I went to a different school and had a whole new group of friends.
yeah,
So, yeah, I get that. That makes it different. Like, seeing Khaleesi now, like, she's gone from 1st to 5th grade with all, the same school and the
yeah,
same people and same friends. And, yeah, it makes a difference. And I think part of it depends on you. I mean, I'm an introvert, so I don't necessarily make friends super easy. Like, it's a challenge for me to I got the skills to go talk to people just because I learned that through work,
yeah, yeah,
going through media training and, like, you're required by your job to talk to people and be social. So, I've learned the skill set for that, but it's not something that comes natural to me. So,
yeah, yeah. Well, and I don't know how much you know about my story, but or probably podcast people don't know very much at all, but I was born in Kansas, but then immediately we started moving every couple years or so, every 2 years. And I mean, or every 1 year. Um, we started in Kansas, went to Oklahoma, went to Arkansas, went back to Oklahoma, went to Kansas for a while, went to Missouri for 6 months. Then my dad got promoted and moved down to Texas. And then we were in the country in Texas. I went to what is it, junior high east first because we lived out in the country on that side of town, and then eventually moved
mhm.
and purchased a home that we lived in by you. My parents did, and we went to junior high west after that. And then to high school, which wasn't too far away from there. But yeah, so we moved around. Of course, then I joined the Marine Corps, and actually, I stayed in place longer in the Marine Corps than I ever did in my life before the Marine Corps. So I was in 29 Palms for 10 years straight. I was at different units and I lived in different places, moved from
Uh-huh.
barracks to barracks, from house to house on base housing and stuff like that. But still, in the same city for 10 years, I had never experienced that my entire life up to that point.
You
More
got to
than
know it pretty well, huh?
in Lufkin, we were there for 4 years, and that was the longest I'd ever lived anywhere, um, up to that point. But Yeah, joined the Marine Corps, and even staying at a base for 3 years and moving somewhere else felt like a long time to me, whereas, normal people that were raised in the same place, in the same town, in the same state, their whole childhood, to them, that was kind of traumatic to move every 3 years. For me, it was like, "Yeah, it's about time to move. It's actually we're a little late," like and so now, of course, we move all the time. We're moving every month, every couple of months, every couple of weeks as we travel around the country and now as we start to travel around the world. So, yeah, there's some different things I notice. I mean, and I used to call myself an outcast, but now I think I'm more of an outlier. Maybe that's a more appropriate term. Where you don't figure in, you don't fit in normal people. So normal people, I mean, we're normal for the most part, right? We're actually probably better than normal for the most part, if that's possible, because we're pursuing our passions. That's the only
Yeah.
reason. But as far as normal people, like, they get attached to a city and a town, and I swear it becomes like a deity to them. It's like, and if you mess that up, man, we were in New England. They really cared about their cities. And you could accidentally say they were from the city next door to their city, and man, they would be upset. They're like, "How dare you say I'm from Farmington, Connecticut? I'm from this town over here." I'm like, "I can't keep up with all the towns. I'm in Connecticut for 3 days," but they're pissed off. They're like sincerely, it's like in Texas, and I don't and it's like that everywhere, I think, to some extent. It was more extreme from my understanding in New England, but like in Texas, same thing. If somebody says they're from Dish, Texas, they're not from Justin, which is 1 mile away. Even if Dish isn't an incorporated town, they're from Dish, Texas. They're not from Justin, Texas. Even if it's the same zip code, or whatever. And to me, that's a completely foreign concept. Because I've never lived anywhere I have no allegiance or loyalty to any city, state, place, location, geographical blip on the map anywhere. I feel the same about all places. Is that same for you, or how do you feel about that?
I've been in Fort Worth so long now that, yeah, I'm from Fort Worth, I'm not from
Oh,
Dallas.
okay. 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 Okay.
So that's the
No,
differentiation. Yeah, I'm from Fort Worth, I'm not from Dallas. There's a
that's a
difference.
very important
I
distinction
yeah.
right there.
So,
Fort
no, I get
Worth
that.
is like real Texas. Dallas, I don't even know what Dallas is anymore. It's like a big Austin or something. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a big town. It's just a big town, big city. So, that's cool. I we like being here. Like, we've been here for so long that, we know some like, you can go out and almost regularly run into somebody that
Oh, that's cool.
know at
Yeah.
some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kinda neat
And
to
I
do
think
that.
that's a strength of geographically located people. Like, you get to know the people, and everywhere you go, you run into friends. I could see the benefit of that, you
Well,
know?
not necessarily always friends, but you run into people that you know.
You're people that you know, which increase according to what GPT taught me, it increases the likelihood of forming friendships if
Yeah.
you consistently kinda meet up with people. It suggests between 2 to 1 time a month, but it says if you can't meet that often, you probably won't ever make new friends.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was going down that rabbit hole on my own. See, rabbit holes thing isn't something I just do with other people. It's something that it happens for me on a daily basis. I'm like, how can I make new friends at 50? I mean, I have a lot of good friends, so it's not like I'm desperate for new friends, which actually is the way you make no friends at all is by being desperate for friends. But it's funny that it's inversely proportional. The more desperate you are, the less friends you'll make, but the less you care about making friends, the easier it is to make friends. But one of the key components is meeting on a regular basis, at least to start, at least to
Yeah.
find somebody, a prospective friend. But yeah, friendship has been a topic on this podcast all throughout season 1. Like, what makes a good friend? And different people had different answers. And I
Yeah.
don't think anybody said anything wrong. or incorrect, but it's kind of hard to nail down. It's like a mystery.
So I have an interesting one that I just realized, and I've been telling Jessica, and it's the same thing about the friend. So I have, I'll play pickleball in the morning, and it's an open play, and everybody there is, you know, there's kind of a lot of retired folks, but they're usually a little bit more serious about pickleball. And if you hit something that's on the line, you know, you can call it out, but you can call it in, and it's okay either way. It's kind of up to you, and people are just kind of nice and friendly and play. And then there's a group I play with in the afternoon. They're a lot younger, upper 20s, 30s, and for them, when somebody hits something wrong or they hit it out or they do something stupid, everybody just busts out laughing because it's
Huh.
funny. And someone will just smash something into the net, and it's like, we'll all just laugh at them. Like, you can't do that in the morning because they'll get upset that you're laughing at them. But in the
Okay. Okay.
afternoon, everybody, like, it's just the group that shows up, we'll be
Right.
laughing the entire time because eventually somebody's going to hit something out or try something that they are not capable of doing, but they're going to try anyway. And so, yeah, and we're just there laughing the entire time. And then I have another group of people that I'll meet up to play. Like, they'll come to open play, but we'll meet up to play. And these are some highly successful business people in Fort Worth that they choose me because I'm nice, and I call the ball the way I see it. Anyway, we've all been friends for a while, but there'll be a group, and these guys, and it's all guys for this group. If the ball is out, you call it out. You can't say, "Oh, well, it was close. I'm going to give it to you." They don't play that. It's, was it in or was it out? You're not giving me anything. And it's all
Yeah.
serious. It's like super serious. We're all, nice and chat, but like when we play, it's super serious play, and everybody's, doing their thing as hard as they can. And then, but there's no laughing. Like, if somebody misses the ball, you're not going to laugh at them. You might make
Yeah.
a good joke, or, sly remark, just kind of in that business type of remark type of thing. But yeah, it's like, it's interesting, the friend group of, how you act with each of the different groups. And that's been interesting to see, to
Yeah.
play that.
Fun. Yeah. Have you made any friends out of pickleball? Like friends?
Uh,
Like, let's go get
not,
coffee after we play or anything like that, or
yeah, I have a couple folks that we'll go out and, have lunch, or, every
okay.
now and then. Uh, yeah, I had one of the guys, well, I was trying to help him raise some money to open a pickleball facility, and that was interesting, kind of going down that route, you know. And because then you have to get even more social and talk to people like, "Hey, how you doing?" And, "Oh, you got expendable income?"
Yeah. Yeah. And that's always a popular question to ask.
Yeah, you have to slowly work into that one. Uh, but it was interesting. So I got a chance to learn about, the finance and business side of,
Yeah.
a pickleball facility. I'm learning about the finance and business side of the paddle, and then there's a whole different group, in terms of like buying land and buying a building or renting a building,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. Like, those big box stores, that was kind of the one, big learning bits I got, is a big box store's 20 to $30,000 a month, just rent. So you
Wow.
see those big box stores, that's just rent. There's still electricity and employees. And so, you go into a
Air
place and you're like,
conditioning in
"Rent?"
Texas,
Yeah. It's like, well, it's not very busy in here. How are they making, they have to make $50,000 just to pay for the bills, and I'm like, wow.
especially
So
these
kind of,
days
yeah.
with big box stores, they're all kind of shut down. Everybody buying everything online.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, that I'm kind of understanding more of why that's happening now, is because those rents are still so high. I
Yeah.
don't know. Uh, well, it's interesting, like, to hear and see that side of business. Uh, I've done some real estate, and, buying real estate and renting it is one
Right.
thing compared to, you know, because you and I couldn't just go say, "Oh, I just want to rent this, box store for a month or something like that." Yeah, it's just the background checks, collateral you have, just in case for whatever yeah, it's interesting, man. Like,
The level of insurance, probably some kind of certifications on things you need. Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot, like, looking at all the steps, that this guy had to go through, to get there was wow. And then, you're having to run the place for, at least a year, maybe 2, you get profitable, and then you can sell after maybe 3 years, 4 years, and, yeah, it's a lot of work, like, you know kudos to all those guys that are doing that and making it work and, being successful at it, so.
Yeah. Yeah, the pickleball. I mean, they're popping up all over the place, the big box areas that have pickleball courts in them now and everything.
Yeah, I'm
What?
curious to see how much of that will continue just because, that was one of the funny parts is you're competing with free. Like, it's so hard to compete with free.
Oh, I'm there. That's my main competition all the time. In the pottery world, in the beekeeping world, in the podcasting world. Yeah, free is always an
But
option.
yeah, that's
Hey,
cool, it's a good
I wanna examine our friendship because we have a friendship that's just like no muss and no fuss. Like, if I don't talk to you in 5 years, I can and this has happened, right? And we meet again, and we're still the best of friends. I don't know how that works. It's like a mystery because 'cause you'd think like, well, if I haven't talked to him in 5 or 10 years, you know, who knows what life will bring us or where we'll go, but for you and me, it's been interesting for me that, like, we came back I was coming back to Texas, and I knew that, and I came back to scout, and I came to your place and hung out and went and scouted during the day and came back in the evenings and stayed at your place, which is very generous, and I really appreciated it. But it was interesting that, like, we could pick up and play chess, and we're just like we were 20 years before that, you know?
Yeah,
At least that's my
I don't
perception.
yeah, I mean, but that's the way I treat it. I mean, it's like you were busy, I was busy, and it's like, "All right, finally got back together again. Let's just pick it back up. Why not?" I'm real curious
Yeah.
on what you did, and, you wanna know what I did. Let's play it that
Yeah.
way.
Well, and I guess that's what I was asking about with nomadic lifestyle because I was like, "Oh, maybe that's the big thing we have in common that" because I think we're both kinda outliers. You had more friends than I did in high school, um, because you were playing tennis, if I recall correctly, and
Yeah.
you were in maybe soccer or another sport. Um, I don't remember, you were
I
on
wa
a
I
few
was in,
teams.
I was in chapter conducting. I was an ag. That was my other sport.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's big in Texas, so I guess I can
Yeah.
see how you could make some friends there.
Yeah. Yeah, I had an interesting group. I had the ag group, I had my tennis folks, and then, just the regular class people. There was a
Yeah.
group that was I was in honors classes, so there was, the group of honors kids that just kinda moved around and knew each other, so but I
Okay.
didn't sit with any of them at lunch. I sat with all the ag people at lunch. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just interesting. Huh. Well, I guess I'll think about it some more, and you can think about it as well, because I'm still like, and maybe there's no answer, but maybe thinking about it is enough. I don't know. For friendship, at least, the bigger topic of friendship and what makes friends. And yeah,
so I
well,
have a good topic.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So, this is one that I've been pondering over for a while now, and I've been executing on it slowly. So the idea is, and maybe talk about enlightenment. I don't know if you're ready to jump down into that hole,
Let's do it.
that rabbit hole. But there is an idea or concept of pushing enlightenment, or not pushing, but getting my daughter to the point where she has an enlightenment experience.
Hmm.
So It's it's a really interesting thing. I've read books from people that had an enlightenment experience as a child,
Mm,
and it's it's something. I mean, you can't really force it. It's something that kind of has to happen. But at the same time, I'm doing my best to lay the groundwork
right.
for it, and it's because there's a mental aspect to it of accepting and understanding or questioning even certain things. And
Mm,
so I've been doing my best to kind of put that at her to where she asks the questions and thinks about it and it's like, okay, well, what is this? What is that? Uh, one of the latest, which I think I enjoy. So when I was on the search for spirituality and understanding it, and you know, I had an amazing experience, and then
yeah,
trying to translate that experience into reality. At one point, I was wondering if my cat was God.
yeah.
So there's the concept of going, of trying to understand what God is. So God is either everything, which it's the biggest thing in I don't know if you can call it the biggest thing. It's everything. It's the biggest thing. Or which means, the concept of nature and basically everything you can see being God. So it's everything. But then there's the also concept of the smallest thing being the God. And at that point, the smallest thing would be a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, we know, God is super intelligent. It's the all encompassing intelligence, that's kind of the given. But you don't know how
Mm,
big that, because that's just thought we're talking about. And that thought could be the smallest thing in the world, but could still contain all the knowledge in the world if it's
mm,
just thought. And then there's nothing, but I think at that point you're atheist if you think it's nothing. Again,
yeah.
that was just my my thought on that. And so I was like, okay, let me try to understand. It's really hard to get your head around everything and nothing, or everything and the biggest thing and the smallest thing. So I had put the thought in. Okay, well, what if our cat is God, and this is God walking around our place, meowing at me, looking at me. What do I do about that? Do I treat the
Yeah,
cat any differently? Do I do anything special for the cat? If the cat is God, is that what the cat wants? Does the cat want to be treated specially? Special? Does it want
right.
treats all the time? Does it want me to pick it up and give it hugs all the time? What would if the cat was God? What would the cat want?
Mm,
And so, I mean, the translation of that for me was you apply that to people when you meet a person for the first time. Is this person God? Maybe I should check. You know, Let me treat them like they are. That you treat them with respect and the same thing. You take that concept and you push it out there. And so I told Khaleesi that. I was like, yeah, I've been because I call our cat, Zora cat, I call her the big, and I call her the little. So the big meaning, okay, if you're God, you're the biggest thing in the world. If you're little, you're just the biggest thought in the world, the biggest little thought in the world that contains
mm,
everything. And so she'd asked, she was like, so what, why do you call Zorkat big? And I was like, because at one point I thought maybe she was God. And so I put that thought in her head. I was like, we have three cats now, and two of them are hers. I was like, if your cat is God, would you treat the cat any differently? Would you do anything different? And I
yeah,
mean, she looks at me like, oh, okay, whatever. It's just daddy, talking, weird terms to me or stuff that doesn't make any sense. And, she meditates a lot. She does meditations as well. And so pushing her down the path of, okay, look into the darkness, look into the darkness, keep looking into the darkness. And eventually the darkness has consciousness.
mm,
And that consciousness is what you're looking for.
yeah,
So giving her, the ideas, and letting her let her figure out her own practice based on these concepts and terms and kind of get questions back from her about, well, what does that mean, what about this and what about that, and uh it's I think it's helped, and it seems like she's going down that path where it could happen, and
yeah,
I want it to happen, but at the same time I can't force it to happen. And so it's kind of using the words, and she's an engineer, so putting the concepts in her head that she has to think about, that she has to make the gears turn to see if they'll line up to something that makes sense. And none of this makes
Mm,
sense even when you get it to line up, you know. It's
yeah.
just something that it lines up enough to where she accepts that as her truth.
Mm,
And the idea, I mean, the end concept behind it is you get a lot of uh, a lot of the anxiety goes away when you're going to do something or meet somebody or compete in a competition. You know, she does a lot of gymnastics competitions, and she does really well in terms of her anxiety. You could tell when the girls are just, super anxious about competing, and she does really well.
yeah.
I've been really impressed. Like she's able to go through all the routines and, remember all of it, not mess up. You can tell when she's nervous. And the first competition, she was a little bit more nervous than she was on the second one. But if we can get her closer and closer to that point and even, get her to have that experience. When the experience happens, all the fear goes away.
Yeah.
And so to be able to do all of those things with no fear, which is unbelievable if you have the skills for it.
Ah,
So anyway, I'm it seems like I'm
mm,
getting closer. This 11th year being 11, I've gotten close. Seems like she's asking more questions and thinking about it more than before. So it's anyway, that's been the latest in terms of,
yeah.
the mental side of, uh, I don't know how making shit happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's I mean, that's a good topic. I like it. It's a good rabbit hole. Like, not only well, and I mean, I guess we're kind of on that journey of enlightenment already. Not that we are enlightened, but that we are wondering what that is and how do we get there and making progress towards it in our different ways. But then how do you do that for someone else? Like, how do you do that for your child? And how do you foster that? And how the unfortunate thing I first think of when I call it unfortunate because I think of your daughter. But for us, like a key component seems to be hardship, big challenges. For me at least, like I like to say hot burning tears in my eyes are the things that are like those moments that I walk away a better person from because I feel whether I feel trapped or whether I feel betrayed in those moments I decide to reconfigure myself, in those hardest of the hard moments, the moments when you're all by yourself, there's nobody there, you perhaps cry out to God if you believe in one, maybe even if you don't in those moments, you know, those are the hardest moments. And those are the moments that I walk away from. And now reflecting back on them over the course of my life, like those are the moments where shit got taken care of, where shit got handled. And by me, it was like, well, there's maybe 100 little annoying steps that I have to do here. Well, I can't stay here. I got to move forward, and you keep moving forward in it. But I think hardship's a component, which maybe she's getting that. And I don't know if I want to apply it all to her, but I can imagine she would get it from like the gymnastics and the difficulty of standing in front of people when she's shy. So there's difficulties and there's ways like and you're doesn't seem like you're sheltering her from those, but trying to prepare her for those which I would think would affect outcomes based on
Yeah,
everything I know.
you're talking about the hero's journey. I mean,
Yeah,
and that's the topic that we talk about is that hero's journey. And so that's been the challenge is, normally in that hero's journey, you have something that's really hard that you have to overcome,
right.
something, possibly even life threatening that you have to overcome. And, the folks that I read books that they had it as a child, it was usually, some trauma or some big thing that they had to
Yeah,
overcome that helped them get there. And as far as I know, there's nothing, we've done our best to, kind of
right.
remove or reduce any trauma. Uh, so I
Sure.
That's been the challenge of I mean, it can happen without the trauma. It's the hero's journey. You're overcoming. It's all a mental overcoming, and it's not necessarily physical. I mean, it could be, but it's all translated into mental overcoming in your head. So
Yeah.
that's the idea is to get her there and have her mentally overcome something. And it could be physical. Through gymnastics, like some physical thing that she has to overcome uh, to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, just recently she got her back handspring, which was huge. And so if you're not familiar with so on the 4-inch beam, it's you jump and catch the beam. So at one point, your hands and your feet are not touching anything and you're just going backwards and you have
Yeah.
to catch the beam with your hands and, turn over. So that's taken years. So I mean, that was a big thing. But in terms of trauma,
Yeah.
it's got to be something, more mentally challenging, I think, for her that she needs to overcome. So
Yeah.
trying to make sure, trying to figure out what that is and help her navigate and, you know, frame it in the right light and so forth. So, can make that happen or let that happen. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it
Yeah.
happens. And maybe in the next podcast, we'll see how much closer we are.
Well, and we can all, I guess, look back at our earlier life and the different traumas we have endured and the hardships and see at some point, I'm starting to see for some of them how they grew me
Hmm.
into a person. So, you know, I tried to avoid trauma for my kids. I did not succeed. I mean, they encountered trauma, you know, more than I even know probably, but at least when I was deployed and left with, ex-wives now, that were not nice, and so they encountered all kinds of trauma that was just kinda hidden that there's nothing I can do about. Um, and at first, I felt like a terrible person because they endured that trauma, even though I did everything I could to avoid it. And I mean, I really took steps to try to avoid them ever encountering it. They still, encountered it when I was gone and not there to protect them. And, but now I know working through my traumas that that becomes a plus one day. It becomes a strength. It turns from a point of weakness to a point of strength. But we can't I guess there's some parents. I mean, this used to be the parenting style, I think, maybe in the early 1900s of making it as absolutely terribly hard on your kids as possible. Like, and we're Generation X, so we might understand like a thimbleful of that. Like our parents understood even more of that than we did.
Yeah.
Like going through the Great Depression and two world wars and all that nonsense. You know, daddy's gone. He's not coming back because he went to fight Hitler, or whatever. So we get a thimbleful of that as Gen X kids, where our parents were like, "Hey, when the street lights come on, you come home and eat supper." And then even if you were an hour late, they didn't come looking for you. They're just like,
No, you just got in trouble.
"Well," or "Supper's over. You're not eating tonight," or something like that. It was like, not at your house. Your mom cooked plenty of food. That's why I love coming over to your house. It was like, I can have seconds. Like in my food, there's 3 hungry boys and a man at the table. It was like, you go back and look at the pot, and it's like lick clean. There's no seconds at all. Like, if there was a crumb anyway, but yeah, those things prepare us for life, and I've come to appreciate hardships as blessings, as special opportunities to realize what we're capable of. And we're always more capable of more things than we think in our hardest and darkest moment. Well, I mean, we're still here. Now we're making podcasts, right? So we must have made it through. I want to throw a thought out there because when you talk about God, I've been thinking whether it's your cat or it's the littlest thing or the biggest thing, I've been thinking about dominance. Dominance. I
Dominance.
thought like this is a thought that I read from Jordan Peterson. He was talking about lobsters and he was also talking about juvenile rats. Um, one of my previous podcasts on juvenile rat wrestling and how they want to play so much that they got to lose sometimes. And so you look at that and you think of I think about my subconscious and my conscious mind. And I'm like, who is really in control? Is it really the conscious mind? I think I'm in control. I'm choosing to sit here. I set up this time for the podcast. But here's the thing, the one who's really in control, the big rat that wins at wrestling, is saying, "This time I'm gonna let the little rat win." And the little rat feels like he's in control. The loser rat feels like he's in control for that time he wins, and so he wants to come back and play again and wrestle some more. And, so there's this maybe my subconscious is the stronger, deeper, maybe connected to everybody part, and that's the part that's really in control and gives my conscious mind the feeling of control. And then when you think about that with God, then you think about, well, that seems like at least the biblical God that would reference to in this situation. Like he stands out of the way. He doesn't get involved at all. He lets us feel like we're in control. And it's like, wait a minute, dominance, right? Like for me, that light bulb came on and I'm like, what does he do all the time? Well, let's go out on a limb and say he exists, whether big or small. Like, what does he do all the time? He listens. I'm like, oh, he listens, or whatever, listens to prayers. Um, and so, yeah, it's just that struggle. Like, cause then I'm like, well, is it the conscious mind giving room to the subconscious mind or letting it feel like it's in control? Or, there's so many ways to go. There's no solution, but that just made me think of that rabbit hole. Is there anything you want to talk about with that?
So I like the many worlds theory.
Okay. Tell me.
So there's before I go into that, there's the block universe theory, which was Einstein like the block universe theory. The block universe theory states that
Okay.
everything from the beginning of time to the end of time has already happened, and we're just like we're living a movie, and this is where we're at, and
Yeah.
the things that are going to happen next are already happened. We just have to experience that.
Right.
Uh, I like the many worlds theory, which is a little bit more computer science related. In the many worlds theory, I'm here. I have all these options to do. They're all valid options. Whichever one I choose, that's the one that happens. And in the many worlds theory, they're all processed in terms of compute, in terms of the computer, just like a video game. It's like, all right, if I go to the left, all the information about the left has already been processed. All the information about the right has already been processed. I just need to choose which one I go, and that's the one I experience. And then the others just kind of go away.
Yeah.
So it's I believe the block universe theory is true, but I also believe the many worlds is true.
Mm.
So
That's the
I
way it works. It's never
well, yes
just
and
one
no.
quick and easy answer, is it?
Oh, well, it is. So the answer that I would give in terms of spirituality is that everything that we're doing right now, we chose before we were born.
Sure.
That's my understanding of it
I
based
like that
on
one.
reading and meditation. So all the choices, whether I go to the left or the right, I already chose that, but I chose it before I was born. And even though perception wise, I feel like I'm having the choice now, but the choice was already made. I don't know,
I
but
I
that's
really
the way
like
it
that one.
seems to work.
I I like that one. Like I think about it like you're looking at different lives, you're like serial killer. No. Judge. No, that looks boring. I want to be, whatever, podcaster. No, I'm kidding. I just threw that in there. But obviously that's not a big thing. It is for some people. But it's like, we scroll through the choices and we choose the hardships perhaps that we're going to face to develop us to be the person that we choose to be in that previous choice. And then we're so upset. We're such victims. We're like, "Oh, I can't believe this is all happening for me." But we chose it, you know? Whether in these moments of life, which is another whole theory altogether, or whether before our life, and I I love how real this feels, you know? Like Jill's asked me sometime, "Are we in a in another reality, maybe we're in another reality and this isn't real. And we're sitting in a chair somewhere. I'm like, if this is a video game, I love it. Like, I'm signed up. Like, don't stop it. Don't turn it off. This is great. I'm loving it. At least I'm in a place now where I'm loving it. There's places where I hated it, but you know, but yeah. So I like that theory too. I'm gonna have to agree with you that, like, I like to think that we chose beforehand, whether it's in a biblical universe where God's like, which person do you want to be, or whether it's in a computer program and it's like, here's some options, choose your stats, and here's who you're going to end up being. Do you want this? Yes, I'd like to walk that path. And then we end that path and we get to go back and choose a different path if we want, perhaps. I don't know. Who knows how it works? It's all theory, but I like that feeling of like I chose it already. And like when we really commit to it in this life, the good feelings come. When we're like, you know what? Take a deep breath. I'm going to go out there and take another hard, slow, painful little step, and I'm going to continue to work towards it. I commit to it. Then you get all the good feelings. You get all the health benefits. You get all the you get all the good things. You enjoy a moment with the sun shining on you. You enjoy the sound of the bubbling brook. You have time to enjoy when you realize you're walking the path that you've already chosen and you just got to see it through. And you get to enjoy the feelings all along the way. Like, people are so afraid of half of the emotions you can feel. It's like we were made to feel them. Enjoy it. Enjoy being so sad that all you can do is cry. Enjoy that moment because that doesn't happen very often, you know. But people are like, I want to stay away from that. I don't want that to happen, man. And I understand, the social makeup of men and how we're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to talk about our feelings, and we're not supposed to ever admit that anything's ever wrong, but that's another too many rabbit holes for our time here. But we are wrapping up now, but that's a good way to wrap up. Thank you for joining me today, Nizam.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having me, man. It's always a great conversation with you.
You know what? I'm gonna have to say vice versa. Thank you so much for being my guest today. And thank all of you, my listeners, for tuning in and checking it out. I hope you can find some other episodes that you enjoy, and I'll always appreciate your feedback. So reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.